The NBA was stunned when the Portland Trailblazers sent NBA superstar Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks as part of a three-team trade with the Phoenix Suns. During an offseason filled with speculation on a trade of Damian Lillard, the Bucks were rarely mentioned as a potential destination. But the trade isn't nearly as surprising when considering the state of the NBA in 2023, including the sweeping changes taking place under the NBA's new collective bargaining agreement. The new CBA makes significant revisions to the way teams rebuild, spend money, and value draft picks by incentivizing teams to compete and spend their available salary during a rebuild. Under the new CBA rules, the Blazers' recent moves make a lot of sense. A team that has a difficult time attracting free agents added DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams III, and Malcolm Brogdon, and the Blazers were also able to secure 3 first-round draft picks and 2 pick swaps over the next several seasons. Under the old CBA, teams seeking to trade an aging superstar typically followed a different model. Consider the Houston Rockets. After 8 consecutive playoff appearances, the Houston Rockets undertook a massive rebuild when they traded James Harden and Russell Westbrook in 2020. As a part of the Harden trade, the Rockets acquired 4 first-round picks and 3 pick swaps. The Rockets finished the next 3 seasons with 17, 20, and 22 wins respectively. And at the same time, the Rockets acquired young talent through the draft and traded veterans from the previous era, eventually shedding the major salaries by the end of the 22-23 season. As a result, the Rockets entered the 2023 offseason with a league-leading $60 million of cap space and a handful of promising young players. The Rockets used that flexibility to sign free agents Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks. Similarly, Phoenix acquired Kevin Durant by trading good players like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, in addition to 4 first-round picks and 1 swap. And it wasn't that long ago that Paul George was traded for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. The Blazers took a slightly different approach under the new CBA rules. Teams were less willing to trade first-round picks, and the Blazers weren't looking for a complete tear-down rebuild, where the new CBA incentivizes teams to spend available salary cap. Those factors helped Milwaukee land Damian Lillard, changing the landscape of the NBA. In April of 2023, the NBA and the NBA Players Association agreed to a new collective bargaining agreement that would take effect on July 1, 2023 and run through the 2029-30 season. The collective bargaining agreement governs the employment of NBA players, including salary cap restrictions, luxury tax figures, trades, and contract values. Perhaps the most significant impact of the new CBA will be to punish teams that go into the luxury tax by a significant number and stay there for multiple seasons. Based on the current salary cap and luxury tax numbers, teams like the Warriors and Clippers would face the harshest penalties under the new CBA. Those penalties include not only financial punishment, but restrictions on trades and draft picks. Prior to the new CBA, the league had a salary cap floor of 90% of the salary cap, meaning that teams must spend at least 90% of the salary cap on their players. That meant that if a team failed to reach the salary cap floor, it would be required to pay its players additional money at the end of the season to reach the floor. For example, last season, the San Antonio Spurs spent approximately $97 million on team payroll, but last year's salary cap was $123.655 million, meaning that the salary cap floor of 90% was $111.29 million. The Spurs were about $14 million below the salary cap floor, and therefore required to pay out an additional $14 million to its players at the end of the season, divided according to the rules in the old collective bargaining agreement. Under the new CBA, teams can face additional penalties for failing to reach the salary cap floor in a given season. Notably, teams will be required to hit the salary cap floor by the first day of the NBA season, where the previous CBA only required teams to hit the floor by the end of the season. So now, any team that hasn't reached the salary cap floor by the first day of the season will be prohibited from transactions that would decrease team salary. In addition, teams won't be able to use any cap space under the 90% salary cap floor. The new CBA also changes how money under the salary cap floor is distributed. Now, that money will be dispersed among all NBA players, not just players on the team distributing money to reach the salary cap floor. The change in salary cap floor rules will incentivize teams to spend money at a rate close to the salary cap. Failing to reach the salary cap floor will enrich players from other teams and limit the type of transactions that a team can perform. Under the new NBA collective bargaining agreement, the value of draft picks is significantly higher. First, the CBA restricts certain teams exceeding luxury tax limits from trading draft picks that are more than 6 years out. Those teams are also barred from using certain exceptions in free agency, making recently drafted players on modest salaries more desirable than ever. This is also true where the new CBA provides a second-round pick exception that allows teams to sign second-rounders to 3- or 4-year deals without using cap space or the mid-level exception. Expect to see a lot more second-rounders filling out NBA rosters. Another important point on draft picks is that the new CBA, like previous CBAs, contains a set salary scale for draft picks, ensuring that new players will not be paid anywhere near supermax players. While there is some flexibility allowing teams to pay a player up to 120% of the salary cap scale number, recently drafted players are still very affordable for NBA teams. For example, Victor Wembanyama will be paid $12.16 million this season, which is 120% of the rookie scale for the top pick of $10.13 million. But even at that price, Wembanyama is much more affordable than what he would demand on an open market. So what does all that mean for an NBA team looking to trade or acquire a superstar? It means that teams are incentivized to compete as much as possible, rather than performing drastic rebuilds. It means a superstar that is traded is more likely to be replaced by good players and fewer draft picks. Under the new CBA, don't expect teams to undertake that type of rebuild. Instead, the Blazers model is what teams will follow to avoid CBA issues with the salary cap floor. The Blazers obtained numerous picks and swaps, but they also valued proven talent like Ayton, Brogdon, and Williams, and their salaries. While the Blazers were able to accumulate a few first-round picks by trading Lillard and Holiday, teams are more reluctant to give up draft picks. It's unlikely that teams will be willing to part with the level of picks traded in the past for Paul George, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. Thanks for watching Basketball Pantheon.